the name of my YouTube channel has changed a few times over the last year. So I wanted to explain that because I haven't done that in a video. And I think people are confused when they suddenly see a different name in their subscriptions and they're like, who is that? I didn't subscribe to that. So I've been a bit of a mess with this actually, like rebranding 2 times or like 3 times even on Substack. But here on YouTube, I was Maya Sana at first, then Unwinding and Defining, and now Glittering Wellspring. Brought back to one Substack and one YouTube. So these are my main 2 channels or accounts where you will find me. These are my platforms that I've chosen and that I really love, and they're both for long form content. And I absolutely adore going back to kind of that slower pace and having a longer attention span again, to be able to read long articles, watch long videos, and not be on that kind of fast-paced social media. That doesn't work for me. It dysregulates me massively. If it works for you, if you love Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you do you. I just noticed like I got so addicted, I got so dysregulated and anxious, and it wasn't good. So I had to quit, and I talked about this extensively on my Substack, about my addiction with Instagram, about my kind of like digital detox in general, and just living intentionally online, and just as intentionally online as I do offline, because I do really value living intentionally offline. But it's easier because you're just out in the world and you're like looking at the sky, and it's like, oh yeah, sky, sun, birds, beautiful. It's kind of like easier, especially if you're on the spiritual path, to be present to those things, and a bit less obvious to be present to the apps that we're on, because it's less physical. It's, it's like more in our head. And yeah, I really needed to unwind. So I did a course to restore nervous system regulation last year, and it really literally changed my life. It completely shifted the foundation of everything for me. And then I noticed I am spending way too much time in an unaligned way on these fast-paced apps. So I have to quit them and I have to realign. And I took myself through a process with that. And I am now living intentionally online as well. And yeah, it was like a really deep process. I really had to bring a lot of awareness to this and like look at my values. What do I actually stand for in life? Because if we don't curate what we focus on, the algorithms will curate it for us if we're online. If we don't pick and choose what we focus on online, the algorithms will pick and choose for us, and we'll just go to the homepage and like see things and scroll and like get taken on that journey that the algorithm has chosen for us. So I personally value intentionality. So I want to consciously create my life because I know that what I consume, it becomes my reality if I'm not careful. I start believing the thoughts that are associated with that. I start seeing more of that, and not just in the algorithm, which is designed for that, but also just in the universe through the law of attraction. So I don't want that. I want to curate that myself. So I created a workbook actually called Intentionally Online Workbook that takes you through this template, takes you through this process that I took myself through, in case you also need some support in that department, with your self-inquiry and realignment to your values, so that your online life can be inspiring. And yeah, for me, it's literally that, like, I'm on platforms now that make me feel in love with the internet, like I felt like when I was a teenager. Yeah, I wanted to go into a slower pace. That's why I started a Substack where I sent out these long form articles, newsletters. And it is kind of like, if you don't know, the platform is a cross between an old fashioned blog and a newsletter. So all the blogs are sent out as newsletters, but you can also go on the website. It's really nice to rediscover my passion for writing. And yeah, I just step into kind of like this deeper well, because in fast-paced social media I was not able to reach that depth. I was always I felt hurried. Felt like I had to do everything in bite-sized pieces, and I don't think that way. I find it really hard to be short and brief. um, and my gift is not in like saying one-liners. My gift is in like giving depth and going deep into a subject. So yeah, that's why I love YouTube as well, with these long form videos at least. I rebranded from my asana to unwinding and defining because I wanted to reflect this slower pace, and I wanted to conclude this chapter with my new age business and the spiritual kind of like multidimensional services that I offered. I wanted to just complete that because I no longer felt or found solace in those practices or beliefs or techniques after restoring my nervous system back to this natural flow state and regulated state. I found that I was naturally calm if I wasn't doing anything else. So I didn't need all of these tools and techniques and beliefs and things anymore. And I've talked about this on the first videos on this channel because I deleted all the previous ones, right? I talked about why I dropped all of these new age practices, why I deleted all my videos, etc. So at the core, my beliefs are still the same. Like I haven't just like completely abandoned spirituality. That's not what I'm saying. I just got grounded. So for the astrology nerds, I have my south node in the 12th house, my north node in the 6th house, which is kind of the house of Virgo, which is grounded, healing, more focused on the body. So that's where I evolve towards. That's my north node. That's my purpose. Not so much the like more floaty, ethereal 12th house spirituality, which is more like on the subconscious and like, yeah, just like these less earthy realms. It's more spiritual. So I don't find as much expansion there. So for me, it's all about making it practical, bringing it into the body, and grounding it into the physical. And that's what I found with nervous system work. That has been the holy grail for me, like the key for me to unlock literally everything. I unlocked my energy, I unlocked my inner peace, I unlocked my creativity as well. And I talk a lot about this now on Substack, and I want to get into that on YouTube as well. Already touched on that a little bit in my last video about how hype can be dysregulating and how I found a more sustainable flow. So check that out, the link is below. And yeah, just like browse my Substack for any articles about anything that I share. Basically, I have written an article about that on Substack. So yeah, if you haven't caught up, catch up there. But I feel like a lot of you have already like migrated there and subscribed. So that's great. Yeah, but that's why I went to Unwinding and Defining as a name for the last year. And I didn't make an announcement about that. So I don't know if people were confused about that. I needed to go on a break. I needed to completely reinvent myself and rediscover myself. Who I was in this flow state, who I was in this regulated state. Now that all of these parts of my physiology, my brain were coming online, that were kind of like shut off or like diminished in survival mode, I found my way back to who I really was, and I rediscovered that I'm an artist at heart, and yeah, just like really love art, just really love creative flow, and that's what I live for. Also like yeah, sharing that in community with people, kind of like seeing other people get sparked in their creative flow and inspiring people to that. That's really my passion. So I've really shifted out of unwinding and defining as well into glittering wellspring, which is all about creative flow. It's this wellspring of flow, of energy, of our like juiciness, our creative water. Like I kind of hate the word juicy, but still, it is appropriate here. It's like this wellspring, these waters that we have, this source that we have, this connection we have inside, where we don't not only create art, but we also create our life. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I was talking about this phase that I needed to rest and recuperate, and I had this container called Unwinding and Defining for that, where I shared a lot about that process with the internet. Just getting a bit hot here. I feel like it's gonna be a warm day. Yeah, I feel a bit melancholic that the summer is over though. But yeah, unwinding and defining was all about me unwinding in my nervous system, unwinding from practices that I no longer needed, dropping deeper into rest and relaxation, deconditioning myself from a lot of unhelpful beliefs that I picked up in the new age. Also a lot of like behavior that I did and like a persona that I created. And I ranted and vented a lot about that on my Substack, sometimes a little bit harshly, a little bit mean maybe. So that was just for me to like purge out the pent up frustration that I had about crossing my own boundaries and kind of like forcing myself to be someone who I was not, because I thought that would save me. I thought that would make me heal. And when I found actual healing, which was this nervous system regulation piece, I noticed like, hey, this all actually doesn't align with who I am, and I need to release it. And yeah, it felt like really therapeutic for me. It was just basically for me this whole journey with unwinding and defining. That was my container, my channel name, my Substack name, to give myself space to share about this, because I mean, I could have just kept it for myself, but I also always like sharing myself on the internet, just in general, always. But I also wanted to, like, if there was only just one person that was also liberated from these insights about all of these practices, and and there were more than one, like I know that now, but back then I was like, yeah, I feel like other people can benefit from this too. And since then, I've received many comments, emails, etc., from people that also resonate with like dropping this like new age extravaganza and just returning to the simplicity of their spiritual practice, their spiritual essence. So you guys get it. You know what I'm talking about. You're not attached to these forms, but you're connecting to what spiritual development is really about, which is connecting to our inner source and that spiritual dimension of consciousness, right? And we can give all kinds of other fun layers to it, like fluff, add all of that fluff on top of it. Like the aliens, the light work, the crystals, the tarot cards. I'm just literally looking around in my room at all of these books and like new age attributes. But you know what I'm talking about. When we return to that essence, we find that it's not necessary, all of these tools, even though it can be fun and it can be supportive. But when we're regulated and in the flow state, which is basically like these spiritual states are in the nervous system. That's what I believe. I know that's such a north node in the sixth house thing to say, but I believe that they are in our body. These spiritual states are in our body, and we can unlock them there. We can feel them there. We can feel inner peace in our nervous system. Like it's not out there. It's not in a higher dimension. It is right here. And when we get regulated, or it's kind of like a window that we can widen and widen and widen. We get more and more and more regulated. We get more capacity. But what I'm talking about is just the journey back from dysregulation into regulation. So it's a window of tolerance. I talked about that in the last video. The window of kind of capacity in our nervous system in which we can still be in the flow state, come in and out of activation, feel intense emotions without being overwhelmed, etc. That's regulation, that's the flow state. If we can do that, we're regulated. If we constantly need tools for that, we're not regulated. We're just managing our dysregulation, which is bad news. I, I didn't say that very tactfully. It was so humbling for me, personally, to discover this about myself. Like, I was so dysregulated, but I thought I was healing. I spent like 13 years on the spiritual path, and I moved the needle a little bit toward healing, but then I found nervous system regulation and was like, okay, now I'm there. So yeah, that was a bit humbling, to say the least. So I mean, no shade. I just, yeah, it was a bit brutal for my ego. So yeah. But basically, what I'm talking about is a shift into regulation. So even though we only have like a small window of like flow and tolerance and energy and capacity, um, we can still be regulated, and then we kind of like build that and widen that and expand so we can handle more. So that's what I went into. And that's kind of like at some point I no longer needed that container of unwinding and defining in order to heal and tap it back into my source. Like that was the defining part, right? Like just tapping into my divinity, which is not really what the word defining means, but anyway. And then I rediscovered like I'm a creative, I'm an artist, this is who I am. And that's the thing, if we regulate our nervous system again or restore that function of regulation to our nervous system, because we don't do it, if we have to regulate our nervous system through all of these tools that we find on YouTube or whatever, that's not, that we're not regulating or regulated, we're dysregulated, and we're using these tools and resources to manage that, which is great. Like, keep doing that. Like, if it keeps you from spinning out into like panic attacks or depression or whatever, like definitely use your resources. What I'm saying is like there's so much more possible where we won't need all of these tools as much anymore. We can just drop into a regulated state where our body, our nervous system takes care of so much of that for us, and we don't have to do anything. So when we're regulated, the number one sign is we notice ourselves coming down from activation. So that's fight, flight, that's an intense emotion, or even excitement, intense excitement, or like even freeze response, like just despair and like, ooh, like completely frozen. We notice ourselves coming down from that activation without necessarily having to do much, without having to do anything in particular. Like, we don't have to always do this thing in order to get back into calm state. We don't always have to do this. Like, if we're regulated, we don't have to use any particular tool. We just notice our body coming down naturally and automatically. So this is the autonomic nervous system, which means automatic. It does it for us. It's like this divine intelligence in our body. Like, it fascinates me so much. And then we notice it working. That's what regulation feels like. We're like, hey, I was like so triggered just a minute ago. Where did it go? You know, and yeah, it's a really good way to like snap away these thoughts in our minds that we create around everything. And that used to take me so much work to change my mindset and change my beliefs. Now I can just disattach so much more easily because my nervous system regulates. So yeah, that's the difference. And then I discovered like, hey, actually, when we regulate our nervous system, all of these parts of us come back. What Carl Gustav Jung calls the golden shadow, these inner gems that we have. This is why I call my brand Glittering Wellspring now. It's these glitters, these gems that burst out of this wellspring, this inner source that we have in our body. It's like in our lower belly, it's our dantian or our sacral center, or however you want to call that. It's where our creative energy resides, our life force energy. And that's our wellspring that we want to tap into. And from that, we have all of these gems that, yeah, they were in our shadow, they were repressed. We disowned them. And for me, this was the artist self, the artist archetype that I feel my soul embodies, this creator archetype. I feel like that's like not an identity or a persona that I take on. It's just an expression of who I am when I'm in my most natural state. I'm always creating, I'm always making art. So, creating beauty, creating alchemy through art, and creating healing through art. That's my, like, I literally feel like almost like tears, right? Like, that's when you know that it's your true purpose, like your passion. So, yeah, that's what I tap back into. It's kind of like what reawakened in me when I restored this regulation in my nervous system, or not this regulation, but this regulation, right? When I restored regulation in my nervous system, I got this creativity back up, and then I could start flowing with that again. So yeah, that's where I'm at now, and that's why I changed my name once again. Um, and that's my true passion and purpose. Like, I feel like I was searching so much when I was still a light worker or a healer. What am I? Like, how do I brand myself, or like what do I put in my Instagram bio, you know? Um, and I was always shifting and changing it. But the thing is, if you are truly tapped into who you are and your purpose, you don't shift and change that description all the time. You just know who you are, and it's just innate. It's not a persona that you adopt. So yeah, that's what nervous system regulation brings. It's what we can't access when we are in survival physiology. When our brain is operating on survival, we cannot access our higher brain, which is this frontal cortex area where our creativity is. Because all the energy and activation goes to other parts of our brain that are more primitive. And yeah, just like living on stress chemistry, stress hormones. Yeah, it's just like a whole thing. So yeah, just tapping into who we truly are. It can only happen when we're regulated, and I'm repeating that a lot, but it's so important because I was searching for that all the time and I couldn't find it. And I could only, it naturally emerged. I didn't even have to search for it. It was just like, oh hey, yeah, that's right. I used to love drawing. Like, I haven't really done that. So I picked that up again. Oh hey, I used to love writing. I really haven't done a lot of long form writing. So I picked that up again. And I got back all of these gems, all of these parts of me, my depth. um, what I said about like trying to force myself to be fast paced and like brief and everything. That's not me. I'm very like slow and long winded and deep. Love it or hate it. But that's how my brain works. Like, I will make a long ass video, a long ass article, and like if I spend a lot of time on it, it will get briefer and briefer and briefer, but I need a lot of energy to make it as brief as possible. Whereas it takes me no energy at all to create something long. So for other people, it might be the other way around, right? So this is self knowledge. It's good to accept ourselves as we are and not try to force ourselves to be something else. So yeah, I make long ass content and I really love that. And I guess that if you've watched until this point, you also love long form content. So that's a good match then. Yeah, so these gems, I believe we all have them. So what is that for you? I'm literally curious, like what have you rediscovered in yourself that was kind of disowned, that you lost or maybe judged in yourself? So for me, that was my long-windedness, my depth. Um, Maybe for you it's something different. And yeah, these are our true expression. This gives us so much power in our creative expression. If we tap into that, we are bringing this authentic vibration into the world, and people can really feel it when you're in that energy. So yeah, I feel like my purpose, my mission has shifted so much, where a lot of the extra fluff has just dropped away, and I've returned to the core, which is just I want to make art literally all the time, literally every day. I want to create. And secondly, I want to also inspire other people to make art. I want to inspire other people to tap into their wellspring and who they are, and uncover all of these gems inside, and like open their treasure chest and share it with the world, which is my new thing that I'm so proud of, because the chest and the heart, yeah, anyway. So yeah, if you like that, like I'm sure not everybody's going to resonate with that. Not everybody's going to be interested in art or in expression or in creativity, which are kind of the topics that I focus on now. If you were here for self-development, spirituality, healing, light work, star seeds, I'm not going to share about that. Like maybe it will come up here and there, like these things are integrated now for me. So they might be, woven into what I'm doing. But my focus is going to be creativity, art, creative flow, how to tap into that inner wellspring, how to create a sustainable inner flow with your energy, with nervous system work, which is what we needed, which is this container that we need in order to actually sustainably use our life force energy and keep moving forward to where we want to go. So if you're interested in that, just keep following my YouTube channel, keep following my free Substack articles. If you're really, really, really interested in that, I have an offering for you in my paid Substack. So if you join as a paid subscriber on Substack, you get access to my mini course Creative Flow, which is where I share exactly how I used nervous system work to tap back into my creativity. Like the key elements of the nervous system work, the course that I took, and the education that I like completely nerded out about. Like this last year, I read so much books and watched so much content about this. So I feel like I really got a grasp on how it works in our physiology, and I bring that to the creative flow so that we can actually have this like nervous system informed way of tapping into what we want to create in life and how we want to create, and our energy, how we can sustain that energy, how we can take care of our body and nervous system so that it's not a burnout. Because I was always in burnout cycles with my creative flow, and now I no longer am in that burnout cycle. Like I notice a difference. I notice myself dropping into that kind of like overtly hurried, frantic energy where I used to like burn out so hard and feel really bad. Like I dipped into that a couple of times. Like the first time it was like a week, and then it was actually my boyfriend who told me like, hey, you seem like you're not doing so well. Like what's going on? Are you going back into that again? Because he witnessed me in all of these burnout cycles, right? So I was like, yeah, damn, I am. So I caught myself, and I reminded like, hey, I have this nervous system work that I can do now, and it's more than just tools. It's more like a way of holding yourself in your life, in your world. I'm literally doing it right now throughout this whole video all the time, looking away from the camera, just orienting myself to the room, feeling my butt in the chair, noticing my breath, etc. That's the basis of this nervous system work. It's self-awareness in your body and also awareness of the environment, and those things combined. So yeah, that's the flow as well. But yeah, I caught myself and I was like, okay, I need to return to this kind of like slower pace and give myself a break. And then my nervous system started regulating itself again, and yeah, I got back into my flow in no time. And also The second time that it happened was actually this morning. I noticed myself getting really anxious. I woke up really early, anxiety, um, and I was like, hey, I noticed this feeling. This is when I burn myself out creatively, when I create so much and then I don't stop. And when I wasn't regulated, it would just burn me out because I had no flow. I had no recovery that was like naturally coming up in my body. Like I had to force myself into rest always. But now it was like I just gave my system the space, and then I was like, okay, I need to take the whole day off. That was that old mentality of like I have to force and like control this. I have to like inhibit myself from doing this in order to rest and heal myself, and I have to use the tools and everything. That was how I used to heal, and yeah, just like balance myself before. Now it's like I just notice it, right? I like notice, hey, I'm anxious, and even that just already starts easing it because now I give myself some space. So it took like 2 hours, and I just followed my impulses. I followed my flow, which is what I teach in Creative Flow, my offering, my Substack paid tier, where you get access to the course. I allowed myself to follow my impulses, and then I was back into flow in no time. Tapping into that innate intelligence. That's what it's all about. It's not about discovering the perfect toolbox that applies like one size fits all for every moment, for everybody. That's not how it works. We need to tap into our body every moment, feel how it's feeling. So if you're super, super, super into that as well, and you like to nerd out about this with me, and you have tons of questions, and you want all the exercises in order to like learn these like nervous system habits, you can subscribe to my Substack. The link is below any of the paid tiers. So you can do the monthly one or founding member. It doesn't matter. You always get access to this course. You'll receive it in September. Like the lessons will be released throughout September, and you can ask questions. There's Q&A in September as well. After that, the Q&A is closed, but you can still see the content. So yeah, it will just be up. Even if you see this video way later, you can still sign up to my Substack, the paid tiers, and you will be able to access this course because it will just be in the archive. So you can still get the education. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.